Today, we have 13 true stories of people who have awoken two strangers in their bedroom. Number 13. Only the nanny cam revealed the intruder. Having a newborn is one of the most fulfilling events in someone's life. From the first moment you hold your child in your arms, you feel a great sense of duty to protect and care for them. You've prepared for this moment, so when you return home, the child has a warm home to live in, a comfortable cradle in which to sleep. You place the bed nearby to make sure the baby is safe, and to be there quickly when they stir awake. Newborns are the most vulnerable humans, hence why everyone feels a great sense of responsibility to ensure they are healthy and safe. But despite this, there are some who don't let the presence of a baby prevent them from committing pretty unsavory things. A Layton, Utah couple were in such a situation after their child was born. The mother and father set up the crib in the master bedroom, sleeping feet away from their baby as a means to remain close. For the first few months, things went on as normal. The diaper changes, the late night feedings, the whole 9 yards. At one point, the couple decided to install a nanny cam overlooking the crib in order to check on the baby as he slept, and the couple were elsewhere in the house. It turned out to capture a rather unsettling event not long after it was installed. One morning in May 2018, the husband was surprised to find the sliding door to their bedroom halfway open. The couple always fully closed the door as they slept, so this didn't seem like a simple mistake. Something felt off. The husband decided to check the nanny cam to see what might have happened, and was horrified with what he saw. Around 3 a.m., as his wife and son slept, an unknown man entered the room and began watching the mother sleep. At first, believing this to be a simple burglary, the husband was horrified when he saw the man stand next to the crib, facing his sleeping wife. The man stood there for some time, without appearing to make a sound, behaving in a way police later described as indecent. The couple checked throughout the house, but found no other signs of someone breaking in. This left them with fear that the man had entered by inputting the code to the garage door, which meant that either the man had watched them for some time, or it was someone they knew. Unfortunately, the man's face could not be seen in the footage. The nanny cam had only recently been installed, and it made the couple worry this may not have been the first time the individual had committed this act. Police investigated for months before they arrested Jonathan Gonzalez in October 2018. When arrested, Gonzalez was in possession of clothing matching those the intruder wore in the footage. As a result, as well as other evidence collected, he was charged for his actions. According to police, there appears to be no other crimes linked to Gonzalez in a similar manner, leading questions as to why the woman and child were targeted in this circumstance. Gonzalez was found guilty in a jury trial on all charges and sentenced to 270 days in jail, followed by 36 months of probation. As for the couple and their 2 children, justice for them has not been served. It is a scary thought to ponder whether or not Gonzalez had done this prior. Had they not installed the nanny cam, it's possible Gonzalez's actions may never have been discovered, or worse, maybe he would have gained confidence and escalated his behavior. For almost half a year, these poor parents were plagued with sleepless nights and anxieties about whether their unwanted guest would return. Even after his arrest, there remained questions as to why they had been targeted and how exactly Gonzalez gained access without alerting the couple. While this incident has certainly shaken them, it is comforting to know the man responsible was caught. We wish the family the best as they move past this terrible event in their life. Number 12. When a good deed goes unpunished. It's late at night. You are walking, either going from one place to another or simply taking in the night air. Suddenly, a stranger approaches. They are clearly in some sort of distress as they beg you for assistance. Doing the right thing, you attend to the individual. They tell you what happened as you assess, maybe even call 911. In the end, you have done a good deed, and this person is not only thankful for your help, but it's possible you could have saved their life. This is the most likely scenario. People, when they are hurt, are in a vulnerable spot. It can send them into a panic. It's why we might reach out to the first person we see, and why people would be more than willing to help. But then there are the unlikely scenarios. Is this person truly in distress? Is it all real? Or is this some fabrication intended to gain your trust? Here's another scenario. We've all heard stories, and maybe some of us have experienced it firsthand. you're on a train or waiting for a bus or in some large crowd somewhere. Suddenly, you feel someone bump into you in a way that feels wrong. You realize they touched you in a way that was clearly not an accident. Sadly, unwanted contact like this happens in crowded spaces more often than it should. Both ideas seem wildly different from one another, but for several women in Queens and Brooklyn, these two instances became a reality in the summer and autumn of 2019. Astoria is a community in the borough of Queens in New York City. Overlooking the East River and Roosevelt Islands, the area is known as the Big Apple's Fruit Basket, named so due to the thousands of fruit trees growing in the neighborhood, in people's yards, and lining the streets. In terms of safety, it has a lower crime rate than the rest of Queens combined. Needless to say, it is a beautiful area, one beloved by residents and visitors alike. A 26-year-old local woman was walking near her apartment just after midnight when a man approached her. He claimed he had been in a bicycle accident and needed help. He suddenly pounced and grabbed her. She quickly fled back into the building and left the man outside the locked door. Shaken, but certain she was safe, she returned to her apartment and went to bed. Unfortunately, the man was not finished. About an hour later, the woman awoke when she felt someone touching her. Opening her eyes, she came face to face with the same man, who is now standing in her room over her. She let out a loud scream and the man jumped from the second-story window. The woman's roommate heard the screams and rushed into the room, but the suspect was already gone. Police quickly determined the woman had been targeted by the man, and when she got away the first time, he either somehow discovered which apartment was hers or had been watching her for some time prior to the incident. Just days later, in the nearby neighborhood of Corona, police received another report of a man inappropriately touching 5 separate women in the span of 5 minutes. Whether these are related are unknown as of this episode, but it could entirely be a coincidence. In contrast to the first, the second incident occurred around 8 a.m. during morning rush hour. In this case, it was likely someone was taking advantage of the large crowds, where he would be able to blend in and escape unnoticed. Furthermore, in October the same year, another woman in Brooklyn awoke to someone physically touching her as she slept in her basement apartment. In this case, the man entered through an unlocked door. The man was identified by the woman through CCTV footage of him at a nearby market. While it is unknown at this time if they are related, the similarities between this case and the one in Astoria appear to coincide. Both women were in their 20s. In both instances, the man entered the apartment while the women slept, and both suspects had similar descriptions. Neither woman was physically harmed, but nonetheless, such a violation left lasting emotional scars. To take advantage of common human decency is a truly despicable act. To feign injury and act like you are seeking assistance in order to act on some sick urge not only damages the victim's sense of security, it also harms those in real need of help. Consider a time when someone is actually injured and seeks aid from a nearby stranger. Because of the act of one selfish individual, it's entirely possible they could be mistaken for someone who has malicious intent. Not only that, but to leave women traumatized for what the suspect or suspects perceive as quote-unquote pleasure is sickening. There's no place in the world for such antics, as we all deserve to feel safe and secure. It doesn't matter who or where we are. We should all be able to live our lives without the anxiety of becoming the victim of a predator. Number 11. Do you want me to leave? Imagine you are in bed. It's the middle of the night and your room is pitch black. You open your eyes to the darkness, but find yourself unable to move. A growing feeling of dread begins to overwhelm your senses as you struggle to understand what is happening. Then you see it. Faintly in the dark, a figure is standing at the foot of your bed. You can make out a vaguely human-like shape, but there is something off about it. The terror grows and the shape starts to move. It may even begin to get closer to you. Just as the terror reaches its peak, you sit up, gasping for breath. The figure is gone. The room is back to its quiet self. You are alone. You have just experienced sleep paralysis. The figure you have seen was, thankfully, a construct of your imagination. Sleep paralysis is surprisingly common, occurring in 30% of people. These episodes are often associated with visions of a strange uncanny figure, aptly referred to as the demon. They are hallucinations caused when your body is in the transition from sleep to wakefulness. In layman's terms, they are dreams that happen even though you are awake. For those who experience a visit from the demon, it is often terrifying. Rest assured they are harmless, and it is more likely than not someone you know has also experienced sleep paralysis in their lifetime. What happens when the figure at the foot of your bed is real, silently watching you as you sleep, motionless and non-speaking? Lee County, Florida is located in the central southwest portion of the state. It is here a local woman had a terrifying encounter in late November 2024. Around 1:30 a.m., the woman was startled awake by the sounds of her dog barking. Rubbing the sleep from her eyes, she was horrified to see a man walk through her bedroom door and stand perfectly still in front of her bed. She gasped and demanded to know who the man was. According to her, he gave his name and then went silent for a moment. He then asked, "Do you want me to leave?" When she said yes, he walked out and sat in the kitchen. It was at this time the woman's husband woke and went to confront the man. He demanded the man leave, and the man simply got up and left the house. The husband then called the police and reported the incident. While police were at the couple's home, police received another call from a nearby home, reporting a suspicious man lurking outside. A patrol officer arrived at the scene and found Fabrice August running through several yards in the neighborhood. When the officer called out to him, August stopped and surrendered without resistance. Police noted he was completely soaked, likely from swimming in the nearby canal. He has since been charged with burglary and prowling. An investigation found August had gained access to the couple's home through the unlocked front door and had simply walked around without taking or disturbing anything aside from the couple's sleep. To this day, there has been no explanation for August's behavior or motives. Since then, the couple has ensured their doors are locked each night and have urged their neighbors to do the same. Number 10. It happened twice in one night. The term fever dream has become common parlance. Most of the time, it's used when people are experiencing an absurd, sometimes bad experience. It stems from the effects of an actual fever dream, which tend to be vivid, surreal, and sometimes terrifying nightmares caused by, well, a fever. Immediately upon waking from such a state can cause someone to question whether or not it really was a dream. The fever's impact can make dreams feel so real compared to others, and the memory of it doesn't fade as quickly. Once we have shaken the sleep away, we slowly realize it was indeed a dream. Interestingly enough, experts aren't entirely sure why fever dreams occur. It is often theorized that the fever overheats the brain. In a sense, during REM sleep, the body can have a tendency to lose control of its internal temperature. This, in conjunction with the already active fever, is speculated to intensify the REM cycle. Fevers can also cause what are known as waking hallucinations. Think of the last time you were really sick, tossing and turning in your bed, trying to rest while fighting the aches and chills. Then suddenly you see a figure in your room. As it starts to move, you follow it with your eyes before it disappears. Though this may have felt like a terrifying encounter, you have simply had a waking hallucination. Most are mild, but they can be more severe depending on the person and how bad the illness is. It's a relief to know no stranger is actually there. Having to confront an intruder while in the midst of sickness is the last thing you want to do in such a situation. But imagine a time you shrug something off, thinking it was only a moment of fever fog, but then you see things are amiss in the house. Things have been moved. The door is ajar. Was it actually a hallucination? Guelph is a city located in southwest Ontario. One major part of its population consists of students attending the University of Guelph, one of Canada's top-rated post-secondary institutions. One such student found herself in the situation presented above during the start of fall semester in 2024. Earlier that evening, the 22-year-old was not feeling well, so a friend walked home with her to make sure she was all right and that she made it safely to her bed. After the friend left, the woman lay in bed watching TV, drifting in and out of sleep. She sent a text to a friend asking if they could feed her pet guinea pigs, then went back to dozing. At around 3 a.m., the woman thought she heard her front door opening. She simply dismissed this as the friend coming in to check on her and was not worried. Then she heard her bedroom door creak. Still believing it was her friend, she rolled over, only to find someone she didn't know standing over her. She sat up in a daze, not able to see clearly in the dark. She said a quick hello, then called for her roommate. She then saw the stranger leave the room, her cats following them outside. She shook her head and assumed maybe her roommate had been sleepwalking. The student got up and went into the living room, where she made further strange discoveries. Her mini fridge was wide open, along with her unit door and the front door of her building. It was at this time she decided to call the police. When they arrived, they agreed the circumstances seemed strange, but found no signs of anyone suspicious in the area. She spent the next day continuing to work on her recovery. When her upstairs neighbor contacted her by phone, to the woman's horror, they sent video of the front door security camera. At around 2:40 a.m., an unknown man was captured at the door, aggressively pulling at the door before ultimately making his way inside. This was only moments before she had seen someone standing at the foot of her bed. As it turns out, her friend forgot to lock the unit door upon leaving. The woman described the experience as traumatizing and soon moved back in with her parents until she felt ready to return. She told the local news that she began experiencing constant nightmares. Anxiety increases whenever she is in Guelph. Since the incident, automatic locks have been installed on all the doors in the building to prevent another similar incident. While her anxieties are certainly understandable on their own, another incident in Guelph the same night made residents wonder if there was a pattern. Around the same time as the incident we have already discussed, police received a call from another student across town. According to the caller, she was spending time with her roommates in her apartment when she got up to get ready for bed. Upon entering her room, a strange man was standing there, looking just as surprised as she was. The man pushed her out and then locked the door. As the man fled through a window, the woman's roommates attempted to confront him outside. However, he entered a vehicle and drove off. The suspect had searched through her backpack, threw some clothing around, and inspected a jewelry box, but nothing was ultimately taken. Two similar incidents in one night in the same city? Despite this, police do not believe the cases are related. The suspect descriptions do not match, and the distance between the two locations wouldn't have given a single culprit enough time to get between them. No doubt, this sent a wave of anxiety throughout the city. Two separate intruders in one night, both able to escape, both targeting university students. It brings to mind some of the classic horror movies that take place on college campuses. Unlike in those stories, nobody was hurt, but the emotional toll inflicted on these women due to the intruders' inexcusable actions was immense. While no valuables were taken, two people were robbed of their sense of security. No updates on the cases could be found, with the suspects seemingly still out there waiting to be caught. Number 9. The Confrontation, which solved an ongoing case. The person you are married to is meant to be your partner for life. As the saying goes, through sickness and in health, your spouse is someone to share experiences with. You go on vacations together, start a family, experience the joys and sorrows of life by each other's side. It is important simply to have someone to return home to, share company with as you eat dinner or watch TV, then sleep the night away in each other's arms. We're sure this is what a lot of people imagine about marriage. But then there are couples who take things to unorthodox levels. In most cases, these are harmless. However, some married couples will be by each other's side through everything, even the most despicable of crimes. Etobicoke is Toronto's Western District. Having merged into Greater Toronto on New Year's Day 1998, it is a primarily suburban area and is the least densely populated district in Toronto. It is known to have a lower crime rate than the downtown district, making it a desirable location for families and those seeking a more peaceful environment. Sadly, these feelings of peace and security in the community were shattered by a string of horrible break-ins over a 3-year period. The first case occurred just after midnight on June 7, 2011. A 63-year-old woman was woken at home by a man. As police arrived on the scene following a call to 911, dispatch received another call from a nearby residence. At 1:30 a.m., a woman confronted an intruder who matched the description given by the previous victim. In this instance, the man ran from the house and fled on a bicycle before anything more heinous could happen. Throughout the 3-year spree, police received 8 reports from women who had the same thing happen in their homes, sometimes with multiple cases occurring in single nights. All the incidents happened during the summer, then would suddenly stop once the leaves began to change. As the next summer came, police would once again find themselves responding to more calls about crimes with a similar MO. A man would break into the home as the residents were asleep. The suspect would gain entry through unlocked doors and windows. Furthermore, there was evidence to suggest a second person was present in some of the break-ins, and personal items would be stolen or moved around. However, no suspects could be identified, but detectives were beginning to collect a pile of evidence in connection to the incidents. The perpetrator's elusiveness left investigators stumped until things took a turn the night of June 11, 2014. Police were called to a home in South Etobicoke after reports of another break-in. At 4:30 a.m., a woman was fast asleep when a noise stirred her awake. Looking up, she noticed a man standing in her bedroom. The woman sat up and gasped, which was enough to send the man fleeing the residence. Her description of the man matched those given by the previous victims, leading detectives to determine it was likely the same individual. In this case, the woman was left unharmed. With each new report, police urged people to ensure their doors and windows were locked before going to bed, since all the victims were targeted because they forgot to do so. It makes one wonder the number of attempts the suspect made at other locations, but abandoned the plans when no access point was left open. After a final incident in August of 2014, police finally caught a break when they arrested Anif Burton and his accomplice Jen Beaton. The husband and wife would break into homes. Burton would go straight to the person sleeping inside, while Beaton would search for valuables around the house, but not in all instances. In total, Burton was connected to 59 break-and-enters, 11 of which involved direct contact with people inside their homes. He gained a total of 95 charges for his actions, while Beaton faced 7. In the aftermath of the investigation, Etobicoke residents banded together to set up a new neighborhood watch program. Using social media, community members have united to share reports of crime incidents and to communicate should someone require information regarding a committed crime or to find a willing neighbor to keep an eye on their home. Burton's crimes were abhorrent, with a complete disregard for his victims, but it united the people of Etobicoke to band together in an effort to prevent future occurrences. Number 8. He watched from the shadows without saying a word. The feeling of being watched is a powerful one. It can occur in an assortment of situations. There are the usual times: walking alone in the dead of night, watching TV in your home with the curtains open, finding yourself lost in an unfamiliar place. It's that gut feeling that tells you to walk at a faster pace or lower the blinds. It's universal, and nearly everyone has experienced it at different times in their lives. Seldom it is ever confirmed whether we are actually being watched or not. It's just a feeling, lingering at the back of your mind, raising your hackles and making you look twice at your surroundings. Most of the time, it is just the mind running wild. In fact, a lot of it stems from our entertainment preferences. Horror movies and thrillers often use the idea of a distant watcher, silently eyeing a character from behind or through a window. Think back to the original Halloween movie, where protagonist Laurie Strode is stalked by the mysterious shape as she ventures home from school. Even spy movies usually include the concept of characters either conducting or being the target of surveillance. Think back to the times you have viewed such media, then sometime finding yourself watching your back. The mind is a powerful thing, and such feelings are common, but most of the time, we find that we turn around to find nothing, and no one is there. Cape Elizabeth is a town nestled in southern Maine. Interestingly enough, Cape Elizabeth borders the birthplace of horror writer Stephen King. While there is no direct connection between King and Cape Elizabeth, a series of terrifying experiences could very well fit into a novel of his. In autumn of 2005, there came numerous reports to police of a man breaking into homes and watching people as they slept. Several residents found themselves waking with an uneasy feeling that someone was in the room with them, watching them. As their eyes adjusted in the darkness, they found a man standing beside their bed, silently watching as they slept. Before a confrontation could occur, the man would flee and disappear. Nobody was able to get a good look at the suspect, although some have been able to give details on the man's appearance. Despite police releasing a composite sketch believed to be the man's likeness, nobody has come forward with definitive information regarding who the person was. Dubbed the Cape Intruder, the man appeared to have vanished as quickly as he appeared. He was last seen in February 2006 before mysteriously ceasing his strange antics. In all cases, nobody was harmed or even touched, and nothing was ever stolen. This raises many questions as to why the man was even there to begin with. Neighborhood watches were set up in the wake of the case, and tensions were high in the area, but no one was ever caught. The story itself has entered a sort of urban legend phase, with people wondering why this had happened. One Redditor posted to r/unsolved mysteries, theorizing that the intruder was simply a case of multiple experiences of sleep paralysis, heightened by mass hysteria. Mass hysteria, known formally as mass psychogenic illness, is a phenomenon which often involves a large number of people experiencing illness or mental illness-like symptoms, despite no infection agents detected as the cause. There are many instances where it involves the mass sighting of malicious or mysterious persons in a short time span. The cause of mass hysteria tends to be the overwhelming anxiety citizens feel from a widely publicized traumatic incident in their area. The Cape Intruder wouldn't be the first instance of mass hysteria, causing widespread reports of a malicious individual. Examples include the sightings of Spring-Heeled Jack in 1837. A more recent example of mass hysteria might be the infamous Mothman sightings in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. We underestimate not only how powerful our minds can be, but how quickly these anxieties can spread from person to person. With the amount of coverage the Cape Intruder had in the local area at the time, it's entirely possible our Redditor is correct. While there was certainly an incidental incident of someone watching another person sleep, the explanation of mass hysteria combined with sleep paralysis gives a very plausible potential explanation for the phenomenon. Despite this, the fear is indeed real. We do not place blame on the residents of Cape Elizabeth for experiencing such a phenomenon, nor do we dispute the existence of a real Cape Intruder. Unfortunately, without any leads, we will never know the true context behind the sightings. The Cape Intruder, whoever he may be, appears to have turned his attention elsewhere. As for the town of Cape Elizabeth, the residents are able to sleep securely at night, with their local boogeyman being relegated to the annals of legend. Number 7. Stardom will bring unwanted attention. Celebrities have become definitive of popular culture at large. There are the usual suspects, film actors, musicians, and even those who were not sure why they are famous. Starting in the mid-2000s, a newer form of entertainment took the media by storm. Reality TV saw success on networks like MTV, with participants developing a fan base of followers and admirers. The genre has also drawn criticism, often for what is depicted on the air, and also accusations of being staged or having drama amped up through producer meddling. Regardless, reality TV continues to be a popular form of entertainment. Kristen Cavallari is one such reality TV star, who first rose to fame for her participation on Laguna Beach in 2004, and later in The Hills for its 5th and 6th seasons. Since the show's conclusion, she has ventured into acting, and now works in the fashion industry, off-screen. Cavallari is a mother of 3 children. Apart from the occasional Instagram post, Cavallari keeps her family life private, which is completely fair, but in the spring of 2020, she and her family were victims of a scary ordeal. During spring break, Cavallari, her then husband, and their 3 children, ages 9 to 12 at the time, were on vacation as a family in the Bahamas. During the final few nights of her vacation, Cavallari was asleep in bed with her eldest daughter sleeping beside her. She found herself awoken by a light shining into her face. Looking over, she saw the bedroom door was open and the light was coming from the kitchen. She turned over and spotted a man crawling along her bedroom floor. In disbelief, she asked what the man was doing. In a panic, the man stood and ran out the front door. She described the man as wearing a ski mask and black clothing. In order not to wake her daughter, Cavallari remained calm and went to wake up her husband. It was when she told him what had just happened that she began to feel the fear. She said she started shaking as her husband went to check out the rest of the house. Police were quickly able to catch the intruder, who had stolen a large amount of cash from Cavallari's backpack. As it turns out, the incident was related to broken air conditioning in the home. They phoned the property owners about the problem, and it was arranged for a repair worker to fix the unit. As it turns out, the worker was the same man who was seen crawling on the floor. In this case, it is most probable the worker knew who Cavallari was, suspecting she would have expensive items and cash in the home. He decided to slip in and grab whatever he could. Incidents like this are certainly an unwanted consequence of being a celebrity. Everywhere you go, people are guaranteed to recognize you. In most cases, people will simply want an autograph or a photo with their favorite star. Unfortunately, there are also those who see other opportunities to take advantage of those through fame and fortune. Cafellari calls the incident one of the scariest things that I went through. She also says she hasn't told her children about what happened, instead choosing to wait until they are older to recollect the story. Cafellari first spoke about the story publicly on her Let's Be Honest podcast in 2025 in an episode appropriately titled, "A Man Crawling on My Bedroom Floor." While we can all sometimes fall victim to the idea that celebrities are superhuman, we often forget how they too are people. They can go through the same struggles, same stresses, and same fears we all face. They deserve the same sense of safety and security we are all accustomed to. They also deserve their privacy, even those who appear on reality TV. Based on other celebrity horror stories of obsessed fans and similar robbery incidents, it's a joy to know Cafellari and her family weren't harmed by the intruder. Her story comes as a warning how even those in the spotlight can have a stranger try to take your fortune for themselves. Number 6. Who are you? Parents feel a great deal of responsibility for the protection of their children, and rightfully so. It's why they check under the bed for monsters, tuck their young ones into bed, and wish them pleasant dreams. Even as they grow up and leave home, parents often still look out for their kids. For parents, there is no better feeling than being safe at home, knowing your children are securely tucked away and sleeping in their beds. Eventually, those children grow up to the point that parents may feel comfortable leaving them alone for a night or two, especially knowing that the neighborhood is safe, that their child is responsible. Should anything happen, they would know what to do. But of course, things will be fine. But what about those 1 in a million chances when the sense of safety is broken? That terrifying scenario you've gone over in your head, wherein a stranger suddenly breaks that sense of security. This is exactly what happened to a family in Irvine, California. In January 2018, an unnamed woman went out for the night as her teenage daughter stayed home. The daughter was upstairs in her bedroom when the doorbell rang. Probably heeding a warning from her mother not to answer the door for strangers late at night, she ignored it and went back to sleep. Minutes later, she woke to sounds inside her bedroom. Sitting up, she saw some unknown woman looking through her belongings. In a panic, the teen sat up and asked, "Who are you?" The intruder froze briefly, then ran out of the room, the teen hot on her heels. The woman then fled out the front door and escaped into the night. The panicked teen phoned her mother right away. The mother returned home immediately, and thankfully her daughter was unharmed. As police were on their way, the homeowner reviewed the home security footage. As she looked through past dates, she was surprised to see the woman had visited the home a month before. Whether she entered the home on the previous occasion is unknown, but it quickly became evident that someone had been casing the place for some time. The homeowner and police were unable to determine how the intruder entered the home, but now the once safe environment felt violated. Wisely, the homeowner changed all the locks on the house. Since then, the stranger hasn't returned. It appears likely the woman intended to rob the residence. When nobody answered the doorbell, she probably thought the home was empty and made her way inside. As of today, no further updates have been provided as to whether the intruder was identified, and no similar incidents in the area appear to have happened. Interestingly, the year before in August, another Irvine resident was burgled in the night, another incident that was caught on security camera. A 4-year-old child was home with a babysitter one night when they went into the kitchen to grab something. The child is seen walking into the kitchen before suddenly stopping and rushing back to her nanny. The nanny enters and grabs the child before rushing away. Then an unknown man enters the frame and begins taking items from a purse that was left on the kitchen table. While, as in the previous case, no one was physically harmed, the emotional toll it left on the homeowners, the child, and the babysitter was immense. In both of these cases, the suspects seemed to have gotten away. The babysitter's quick actions prevented any potential confrontation, ensuring the safety of the child, all thanks to the safety the parents and caretakers provided. Number 5. A college encounter straight from a horror film. Every year, millions of high school graduates flock to college campuses to begin their journey in higher education. It is a concept which has inspired a plethora of classic Hollywood films throughout the 70s, 80s, and well into the present day. These movies may exaggerate their depictions of campus parties and other antics, but they have romanticized the notion of leaving home to attend college. For many, it's the first time they leave home and live on their own. College is a place where new friends are made, new memories are created, and it's a chance to obtain a degree and continue into adult life. Richmond, Virginia has become a hub for college students, with a total of 7 universities and 4 colleges. That isn't counting the city campuses of several other institutions, including those from out of state. As a result, Richmond houses a particularly large student population during the school year. One such student was a young woman who lived on the block of West Marshall Street during the fall semester of 2017. Living with 5 other students in an apartment, she went to sleep one night, possibly thinking of her upcoming exams or deadlines. As the woman slept, her cat began stirring on the bed, disturbing her sleep. She looked over and spotted a man wearing a black hoodie creeping through her room. She immediately got up and screamed, catching the prowler's attention. Panicked, the man turned and fled the apartment, the woman in pursuit. She chased him as he ran west from the apartment, but he managed to get away into the night. She returned to her apartment and called the police. The 5 women revealed to police that they tended to leave the back door unlocked, which is likely how the man was able to enter unnoticed. They stated that they never thought to lock the door, as they had always felt safe in the area, and that they have friends who live nearby. In the wake of this incident, Richmond police urged student residents to take several safety precautions. These included the usual locking of all doors and windows. One common practice they discouraged was leaving spare keys hidden outside of homes, as this is another common method for burglars to enter unnoticed. Burglars tend to be clever in finding where spare keys are hidden, even if it's not obvious to others. The police department also recommended students register with their university's vacation watch list. This lets the faculty know when your residence will be unattended for a time, as sort of a neighborhood watch. Police also increased their patrols of the area, but no suspect was ever identified or arrested. It's not uncommon to let our guard down. Accidentally leaving a window or door unlocked is nothing to be ashamed about. It's a mistake, it happens. But if we all put our minds to ensuring our homes are locked each night, the chances of a break-in occurring diminish. As of yet, no suspects have been named in the case, and thankfully the woman was unharmed. It is likely the intruder simply intended to rob the home as the woman slept, taking care not to wake her. However, he did a poor job as he was caught red-handed. Hopefully he took getting caught as a sign, and did not return to burglarize anyone else in the future. Number 4. He woke up to a mist of agony. For those who have never experienced getting pepper sprayed, all we can say is it's best to try not to find out what it's like. Pepper spray is generally made from resin oil, extracted from capsaicin. It causes an intense burning sensation in a person's eyes, on the skin, and in the throat. The full effects can last up to 2 hours, with lingering effects lasting up to a day after. The oily chemical can latch onto clothing and skin, increasing its intensity long after getting sprayed. Bottom line, it's not fun, and that's putting it mildly. When we hear the term, we often associate it with law enforcement, and sometimes as personal protection by private individuals. Unfortunately, the compound has also found its way into the hands of criminals. West Vancouver is an independent district located on the north shore of the Greater Vancouver area. It is known for its wonderful view of the Strait of Georgia, Burrard Inlet, and Vancouver Island. Directly north is Cypress Provincial Park, a popular destination for hikers. Those who visit find it hard to believe the incidents, such as the one described in this entry, would occur in such a beautiful and serene location. But one unlucky homeowner in the area became the victim of a terrifying experience when 2 unknown strangers broke into his home as he slept. On May 24, 2021, a 57-year-old resident was awoken by a commotion in the early hours of the morning. As his vision cleared, he saw 2 hooded figures in his bedroom, searching the room. He stood up to confront them. The resident was sprayed with bear spray, a powerful substance designed to ward off predatory animals. Dazed and in agony, the man continued to defend himself, chasing the suspects out the door. However, the spray ultimately overpowered him, and he collapsed, the thieves fleeing the scene. He returned indoors and called the police. The man was treated by paramedics at the scene and thankfully made a full recovery. In the end, the suspects escaped with $1,500 in cash and a laptop. Throughout the day, West Vancouver police set up check spots at all points of entry to the city and began questioning motorists in an attempt to apprehend the suspects. Sadly, the men managed to evade capture. The resident says he did not recognize the men in his home, but also admitted he didn't get a good look at them. He also said they acted surprised when he got up, leading police to believe that the suspects were unaware the home was occupied at the time. He said he saw them flee in a black SUV after he collapsed on his front lawn. It is believed by police that the man was targeted at random, with the perpetrators entering through the defective garage door. Since the incident, no further updates have been made public. Considering how bad pepper spray affects the body, it's hard to imagine how awful exposure to bear spray is. For comparison, habanero peppers contains around 200,000 Scoville heat units. Pepper spray contains up to 1 million SHUs. Bear spray is 3 times more powerful than pepper spray. It leaves a fog and travels between 30 and 35 feet. This leaves it lingering in the air long after release and is meant for outdoor usage. To be confronted by strangers in your room, then to have an overpowering substance discharged directly at your face is a horrifying experience for many reasons. It leaves you struggling for breath, in agony for hours after exposure. Had the 2 suspects decided not to flee, the situation could have ended on a much scarier note. Thankfully, this was not the case, and the victim was given the opportunity to escape mostly unharmed. Number 3. An uneasy feeling was met with a stranger's gaze. Normally, when a burglary occurs at a home, the owners are out of the house. Either they are at their place of work, socializing, or out on vacation at the time of the incident. It isn't until they return home that they discover things are missing and objects are broken. Most thieves do everything they can so as not to get caught. It's why places are usually scoped out beforehand. The criminals want to learn the patterns of the occupants, what their schedules are, when they are usually coming and going. Whether they possess expensive items or not, we can all agree these are textbook burglary rules to avoid confrontation and capture. It seems strange anyone would attempt to rob a home while it was occupied, and yet, there are countless examples of homes being robbed as their occupants slept. It's an uncomfortable feeling, realizing someone was snatching your possessions while you were fast asleep, none the wiser. But there are also thieves who slip up. For one reason or another, something stirs the owners awake, and they come face to face with their would-be robbers. Willoughby is a community in the Langley Township of British Columbia, Canada. While maintaining a more urban-like setting in the town center, much of the location is agriculture-based, a striking distance from the density only a short drive away. Despite the township's quiet suburban nature, the nearby city of Langley, apologies for the confusion, has a crime rate that was 200% higher than the national average according to 2020 statistics. A vast majority of these are property crimes. This includes vandalism, burglary, and other forms of theft. With this type of crime rate, it's not surprising that the surrounding communities are impacted as well. This is exactly what happened in the summer of 2017. In August of that year, a local man was asleep in his home when he awoke to a feeling of someone was watching him. Unable to shake it, he looked up towards his door, which was open by a crack. In the darkness, he saw a hooded figure watching him through the small space between the door and the wall. In a defensive instinct, the homeowner jumped up and kicked the door. Using such force, the door fell off its hinges. The intruder fled down the stairs, the homeowner in pursuit as they fled out the door, where he disappeared into the night. Police arrived with a canine dog, but were unable to find any scent for the dog to follow. No physical evidence was obtained, and nothing from the house was taken. All they were able to discover was the intruder had originally entered the home by climbing onto a second-story balcony and entering through the unlocked door. Investigators found that, the night before, a nearby resident was using the restroom when he heard a noise. Thinking nothing of it, he went back to bed. The next morning, he found several items had been taken from the residence. In another earlier incident, a teen in nearby Langley City caught an intruder entering their home's second-story window. The suspect fled after the teen screamed. Police believe these events could be related, but as of yet, no suspects have been identified. Furthermore, no other instances could be found of similar cases after the one in Willoughby. It is likely the Willoughby incident was the result of a failed burglary, with the intruder watching to make sure the owner didn't wake up. Instead, he received an entire door nearly crashing down on him. We can only assume he learned his lesson and either moved on to other activities or another community altogether. Number 2. She awoke to a nameless sleeper on her floor. Farncombe is a small village in Surrey, England, located approximately 50 kilometers southwest of London. Residents describe it as a lovely place, surrounded by beautiful scenery. Quiet and friendly, it has become a destination for new residents seeking to move away from London proper, while still wishing to remain within commuting distance for work and recreation. It is known to have a low crime rate, making it a safe community for families. However, one particularly alarming incident sent a wave of anxiety through the normally quiet village. On October 24, 2017, a 47-year-old woman went to sleep in her home just as she had many nights before. She awoke the next morning to what she expected to be another ordinary day. Instead, she found a man she had never met before sleeping on her bedroom floor, mere feet away from her bed. In a panic, she demanded the man to leave her house, possibly expecting a further form of confrontation. She left even more confused when the man simply stood up, brushed himself off, and left without saying a word. Once he was gone, the woman checked through the house, only to discover the man had seemingly not taken or disturbed anything. She then contacted the police and reported what had happened. Investigators found the bedroom window had been left unlatched, which is how the man was able to enter so easily. What left the woman and police baffled was the lack of apparent motive for the man's actions. No items were stolen, the woman was left unharmed and untouched, and the man hadn't even said a word when confronted, instead leaving the residence calmly as soon as he was asked. The woman described the suspect as medium built, of an average height, and with short dark hair. Soon after, CCTV stills were retrieved from a nearby store, taken the same night of the incident, of a similar-looking man. When shown to the woman, she identified him as the same person who was in her bedroom. The case has left many questions unanswered. What is clear is neither burglary nor harm was the motive. Furthermore, no updates on the case have been made since Surrey Live first reported the story. It is as if the man simply faded away, with no one coming forward to identify him. The only other possible clue in the case is the woman recalled a man stopping her at 10 p.m. the previous night, asking if she had dropped her phone. She said no and walked away, but felt as if she was being followed home. It is unknown if it was the same individual, as she did not get a good look at him in the dark. Without any further information, it very well could have been a simple coincidence. The incident took place around the same time another man in the adjacent town of Godalming was sentenced in a separate intrusion case. The owners of a cottage discovered a man in their home and confronted him. When questioned, he claimed to be a police officer investigating the property. However, the homeowners didn't believe the man's claims, as his speech was slurred and he appeared disoriented and disheveled. The man, identified as Kevin Hill, was arrested and charged with breaking and entering. Hill was revealed to be a former chef who was previously imprisoned and then ended up living on the streets after completing his sentence. While the cases are unrelated, they have become topics of conversation throughout the Godalming Farncombe area. The idea of an unknown individual in your home as you sleep is a terrifying thought. It seems like something out of a horror film. Fortunately, in both home invasion cases, no one was ultimately harmed. Although the first case remains unsolved, it appears likely the man could have simply been intoxicated and drunkenly entered the woman's home for a warm place to rest. What is known for sure is the residents of Farncombe are sure to check their doors and windows are locked, lest the Farncombe sleeper or something more sinister visit them in their slumber. Number 1. She was taken away, quote, for her own good. Therapy is meant to be a tool that helps us heal. Its methods vary depending on the circumstances. We're sure the first thought coming to mind when you think therapy is a patient reclining on a couch, discussing the thoughts in their heads and events in their life, All the while, a psychoanalyst is seated nearby, writing down what is being said. Then they may begin to interpret your feelings and help you analyze them. While this is something that does happen, it is certainly more complex than this stereotypical example. For many people, therapy has made a significant positive impact. Therapists do assist in helping us understand our feelings and reactions to traumatic and stressful situations, like physical therapy, which aids in recovery from injuries. Psychological therapy aids in the recovery from emotional wounds. It is even used in addiction recovery. The point is that it comes in a variety of techniques, depending on the needs of the patient. Unfortunately, there are times when the methods go to the extreme. These can cause further damage, exacerbating the issues already present. Author Sarah Stusek had such an experience when she was only 17 years old. At this time, Stusek left her Maryland home to attend a professional children's school in New York City. Rules at the school were lax, allowing students to come and go as they pleased. Stusek found herself skipping classes to explore the city and indulge in fun activities with other peers. Upon discovering this, Stusek's parents decided to bring her home. She struggled to settle back in her home life. She continued to come and go as she wished. She and her parents fought often, unable to see eye to eye. Ultimately, her frustrated parents sought professional help from a therapist. It was during these sessions that the specialist recommended Stusek attend a wilderness therapy camp as a means to overcome her emotional challenges. Sadly, the program they chose may have done more harm than good. Stusek recalls how one morning, at the early hour of 4 a.m., she awoke to footsteps in her home. Thinking nothing of it, she rolled over and drifted back off to sleep. Suddenly, the lights in her room came on, and she saw two strangers, a man and a woman, standing in front of her. They declared that they were there to take her away. As she lay there groggy and frozen in fear, before she could say anything, the unknown people took control of the situation. She began screaming. Convinced strangers were taking her away against her will, but no one came to help. They quickly got her dressed and led her out of the house. Then, in a cold tone, they said she could either come with them to the airport or she could continue to fight as they drove 30 hours to their destination. Realizing fighting would not help, she decided to go quietly. The strangers loaded her into a car and drove her off to the airport. As they drove, they started to talk to Stusek about things only her parents would know. It was then she realized her parents were the ones behind what was happening. At the airport, she attempted to alert security of her situation, but they quickly released her back into custody of the two strangers. From there, she flew out to Bozeman, Montana, where the two individuals left her in the care of the therapy program. Stusek later found out the people who took her were hired individuals not associated with the program, simply paid to transport her. She was taken to what was referred to as a base camp in the middle of the Montana wilderness. It was November, and the cold had rolled in hard. At every opportunity, Stusek attempted to escape, but was stopped and instead placed under constant watch. Every night, she slept in a sleeping bag with two staff members sleeping on either side, a tarp the only protection from the elements. The program in question turned out to be a behavioral modification program for teens. Eventually, she accepted the situation and went along with the counselor's instructions. Stusek stated it was a dreamlike experience, with her and the other participants rarely knowing what time or even what day it was. It wasn't until the staff held a surprise Thanksgiving dinner that they found out the date. Christmas was the first time the participants were allowed to wash, albeit only by warming a bucket of water over a fire and dumping it over themselves. After several months in the program, she finally graduated and was reunited with her parents. Stusek described the surreal situation of suddenly being thrust back into her normal life as if nothing had happened. 16 years following the ordeal, Stusek revealed she still feels anger towards her parents. However, she also stated she believes that they did what they thought was the right thing, and she continues to work on her relationship with them. She also states she believes that she was lucky, having heard other stories of therapy retreats, which were even more damaging to participants. Stusek does stress one thing when she shares her story: such programs need to be voluntary. It is hard to imagine being woken up by two strangers at 4 a.m. and told you are being taken away to some unknown destination. than having to spend months in a survival situation in the cold wilderness with no prior outdoor experience. Stusek has since become an accomplished author. Her first novel, 3 Rivers, was published in 2023, and her second novel, released the following year. 3 Rivers was inspired by her time at the wilderness camp. The book incorporates much of her personal experience, as well as additional research she has done into similar cases. In 2023, she wrote an article for Newsweek describing her time at the wilderness camp, going into further detail of the day-to-day life she experienced there. As we stated before, therapy can be beneficial in many cases. However, it isn't something someone can be forced into. One must take care to convince a person to attend therapy, no matter what format it takes. For Stusek and all of those who have gone through similar events, we wish all the best as they continue to heal and continue to thrive. This episode is sponsored by Proton VPN. chillspodcast.com/proton. If you sign up using my link, I earn a commission which helps support the podcast. Now, I use Proton VPN personally, and I want to say what convinced me to use their service. When I use a VPN, I want to make sure it's fast and my privacy and security are both protected. Proton is located in Switzerland and is therefore backed by Swiss privacy laws, which are some of the strongest privacy laws in the world, and give me peace of mind. And in addition, Proton has a strict no-log policy, and I was very impressed with how fast it was. They have something called a VPN accelerator. Here's how it works. Imagine a toy car track from your room to the kitchen. In some cases while using a VPN, there's only one skinny track. All the cars, aka your data, have to use it. The track is long, so cars move, stop, wait, and then move again. Everything feels slow. With VPN Accelerator, Proton VPN does a few smart things. First, it adds more tracks. Instead of one skinny track, there are several side by side. More cars can move at the same time, so nothing gets backed up. Second, it breaks a longer trip into shorter ones. Rather than sending cars on a very long stretch, it sends them through smaller sections. Cars move faster on each section, so the full trip finishes sooner. Third, it smooths the road. It removes bumps and extra stops, so cars do not have to pause as often. Less stopping means better speed. All of this can increase your internet speeds by up to 400%. I was honestly baffled by how much faster the speeds were compared to my old VPN. Plus, they have 15,000 servers in 120 countries, apps for all major devices and platforms, and unlimited bandwidth. Sign up using my link, chillspodcast.com/proton, and they'll give me a commission, which helps support the podcast. This has been the Chills Podcast, and I want to say thank you very much for listening. My name is Chills. Check out my first album, Sawiskara, available on all streaming platforms and is linked in the description. It's my most personal music I've ever made, and it's built around a story from Iroquois mythology about twin brothers, one of light and one of darkness. The album focuses on my connection to Sawiskara, the brother tied to darkness, which to me represents the hard parts of life that create growth and strength. And please follow me on Instagram at DylanIsChillinYT with underscores instead of spaces, X at YT_chills, and TikTok at chills. This podcast was made in collaboration with Jonah, Elizabeth, and Karina. Until next time, bye-bye.